ever rise above the fear? Can we learn to see the need? Can we share humanity? Yes, I can see another day come. And broken people, we can be made whole. We can be made whole. We can be made whole. As we lay down our weapons, open up our hearts. Love is breaking us. Love will making us. Will we ever rise? Will we ever rise above the hate? Can we learn another way? Forgive as you forgave. Yes, I can see another day come. Broken people, we can be made whole. We can be made whole. We can be made whole. As we lay down our weapons, open up our hearts. Love is breaking us. Love will making us. Come heal now. Take away the blindness, so we can see as we were meant to see. It's our feel like devastating darkness, for I can see another day come. Yes, I can see another day come. And broken people, we can be made whole. Yes, broken people, we can be made whole. Broken people, we can be made whole. We can be made whole. We can be made whole. As we lay down our weapons, open up our hearts. Love is breaking us. Love will making us. Will we ever rise? Will we ever rise?
God and creator of all humankind, may you renew our minds and rekindle your love in our hearts, so that by the power of the Spirit, we might find the oneness that you intend for us. God, may we see our need for unity. God, may we see our need for community. May we see our need for diversity. God, may we see our need to love each other. Amen. Welcome to State Street.
Thank you for the cross that you have carried, and thank you for your blood that was shed. You took the weight of sin upon your shoulders and sacrificed your life so I could live. And thank you for the cross that you have carried. And thank you for your blood And thank you for the power of your blood. And I am overwhelmed by your affection, the kindness and the greatness of your love, the kindness and the greatness of your love. Now nothing is holding me back from you, Redeemer of my soul. Now nothing can hold me back from you. Your love will never let me go. Sing that again. Now nothing is holding me back from you, Redeemer of my soul. Now nothing can hold me back from you. Your love will never let me go. Oh, Jesus, you make all things new. Oh, Jesus, you make all things. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus, you make all things new. Oh, Jesus, you make all things Thank you that we're living in your kingdom. And Jesus, you're the King upon the throne. And thank you for the way you always love me. Turn. And thank you that we're living in your kingdom. And Jesus, you're the King upon the throne. And thank you for the way you always love me. And now I get to love you in return. And now I get to love you in return. And now I get to love you in return. Oh, Jesus, you make all Oh, Jesus, you make all things new. 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 Oh, Jesus.
of Jesus, that name that brings life, that makes dead things alive again, that brings resurrection, that brings newness. We thank you for that name of Jesus. You may be seated, and Nate's gonna come in just a minute to continue our series on Better Together, and we're gonna share a song with you today.
Give and take, snow or sand, it's all the same from far away. You and me, we're the stuff of stars and dirt with eyes to see. I can't meet you eye to eye, but I can take your hand in mine. We are better together, we are the ocean tide, freedom and the anchor. When we're together, we are better together, we are the day and night. Together we are stronger, we are stronger. A starry sky, solitary sparks that find a greater light. And desert land, sprawling miles and miles with only grains of sand. Oceans from drops of rain, everybody made the same. 'Cause we are better together, we are the ocean tide, our freedom and the anchor. When we're together, we are better together, we are the day and night. Together we are stronger, we are stronger. We are better together, there is no real divide. The winter and the summer, we are stronger, all together. Every black life matters, every woman matters, every soldier matters, and all the unborn matter. Every gay life matters, fundamentalists matter. Here's to life in all its branches.
All together we are stronger, we belong together. All together we belong together. All together we are stronger, we belong together. All together we are stronger, we belong together. All together
We are better together, we are the ocean tide, of freedom and the anchor. When we're together, we are better together, we are the day and night. Together we are stronger, we are stronger. We are better together, there is no real divide. The winter and the summer, we are stronger.
Amen.
Amen. Good job, guys. And I love the message that people matter. Regardless of where you come from, regardless of where you've been, you matter. You matter to us, you matter to God, you matter to each other. And one of the beautiful things about the church community and what God has been doing for 2,000 years through the hands and the feet of this Christian expression is that or female, there is no Jew or Gentile, there is no Greek or Scythian, there is none of these dividing lines that we continue to build up against each other. That we decided that it's not better together, it's better against. So we're in a series right now called Better Together. So the song, you can see, kind of fits. About community and who we are going to decide to be as a church community, State Street, but also as people. Now, you might be new here, or you're streaming with us for the first time. We're so glad you are. We hope you check in just so we know who's with us. But if you're new with us, know that you have a place to belong here. Whatever your background is, wherever you're coming from, we are all being made well by Jesus, by the love of Jesus, by the work of Jesus. And in that messy and beautiful process, it's our privilege to invite you into it, into the work of reconciliation, into the work of restoration. And if you're new with us today, we invite you into it. Now, what does that look like? It just means you start hanging around. You don't leave. Well, you do leave after services, but you're a part of this thing. You're a part of this movement. And I was just looking up here and, seeing some of the people that are in our worship team, and they've been here in this community for different time periods. We have different generations. We have Aubrey, who just got her license back tickling the ivories. And then we have Chris Cribbs, who has had his license for a couple years. And we have male or female. It's just a beautiful picture that people are coming from different backgrounds, different theological backgrounds, different ecumenical backgrounds, different political backgrounds. Some are students. Some are now getting retired. Some have been in LaPorte their whole life. Some have moved here just recently. Some of you have been a Christian for maybe most of your life. Some of you are you're not even sure if you want to call yourself that yet, and you're still working it out. And it's our belief, though, that regardless of where you're at, we're better together as a community of difference, a community that doesn't have to agree on everything to be better, a community that doesn't require sameness to have unity. And this isn't a new or novel idea. This is how the church has been functioning for years and years and years, and quite frankly, been struggling to live out for many, many years. But when done well, when reflecting the love and the mercy and the compassion and the justice of Christ, is one of the most beautiful expressions of life you could ever see. So in this series, Better Together, we're asking these questions, right? We're asking these questions about our identity. Is our identity towards the world, towards others, towards our family and our friends, towards other Christians, towards non-Christians, towards those who are more conservative than you, towards those who are more liberal than you? What is your disposition? Is it hostile or is it hospitable? Because Jesus invites us into one of those, and it's a view of hospitality that I think is something sorely needed today. A place at the table, a place of belonging, a place of rootedness, of saying, regardless of what you've done or where you've been, or how hard you struggled this week, you have a place here. Regardless of your addiction, regardless of what mess you made, you have a place here. You have a place in the community of Christ. And we're so glad. We're so glad that we do. And what we have to fight against is this idea that we are the gatekeepers of Christ's community. Because He owns it all. He gets to determine who's in and who's out. Our job is to invite, to embrace, and to include. So, for us, it's a question of worldview. It's a question of disposition. It's a question of kind of how you're looking at the world. Are you looking at it through a hostile or a hospitable lens? You can probably guess, I get very, very protective of my wife, who is an immigrant. And she came here when she was a student in college. It'd be her sophomore year of college. She went 1 year in college in Romania, where she's from, and then came over here. And I get very defensive and very just protective because I want her to know that she belongs here. And I want her to experience that, and I want her to own that. And just like my great-grandparents, my great-grandfather was from Sweden, and he was able to build a life here and own this place and be a part of it. And I want her to have that. So I get very kind of protective of it. I get very defensive of it, and I want to make sure that no one treats her differently just because she was not born in LaPorte, Indiana, like I was, like many of you were. And there's been a couple kind of instances, though, where I've experienced this, experience with her, where I don't know, it was almost transcendent for me because it was an experience of belonging that was so inviting and was so out of the kind of ordinary that it almost made me emotional. And I do get emotional quite a bit, but I hear like Pure Michigan commercials and start crying. Yes, Tim Allen, it's so beautiful. But I think next service they won't be hearing these illustrations. But last summer, after being in the country for 18 years, she got her citizenship, and she became an American, and it was a pretty arduous process. She had been a green card holder for many years. After we got married, we started the process of getting her a green card, and if you don't know how that works, you apply for it, and they give you a 2-year residence card before you get your green card. You go to the office in Chicago if you're from this area, and we go there, and they interview us about our life. They want to make sure that you are not a sham, that you're not using the immigration system to get somebody through it. They want to know, are you really married, and are you going to stay married, and all these kind of things. So we go through there. So this would have been 2007, and or 2007, 2008. We go through there. We show them our wedding books and our memories that we've made, and you want to be particularly affectionate to show that, hey, we really do like each other. And after that, she got her green card. And after she got her green cards are good for 10 years. And that gives you pretty much all the rights of an American citizen. You become a legal resident, all of the rights except voting. And you pay into Social Security. You are not eligible to receive Social Security. So you pay your taxes, but you cannot receive the benefits of your taxes, other than like your federal taxes, roads, all these kind of good things. But anyway, she did that for 10 years, redid her green card, and then decided it's probably best not to mess around with it. She was going to get her citizenship. And so we go through the process. And again, it takes lawyers. It takes all kinds of application stuff. The hardest thing about immigration is it can be unforgiving. So if you fill out forms, and there's lots of them, and you fill them out wrong, there's not mercy. You filled it out wrong, so you deceive. About that, obviously. Got through the process. She took her citizenship test and did well. She studied, and last summer we went to the office and did her swearing-in ceremony, and she became an American and got to vote in the 2018 election, and she gets to complain about politics like us. But after the swearing-in ceremony, and again, this is not just it wasn't for me anyway, it wasn't a ceremony of, just a moment. It was for us anyway, it was a 13-year process. That for me anyway, what she was doing is, in America, you have to renounce your citizenship where you come from. So she had to renounce her home country to be a citizen in America. And mind you, she has she doesn't hate her home country. So renouncing it was a little heavy, but she did that for us, for my kids and for me, and to be a part of our, this movement. And afterwards, though, so I'm very excited. She's very excited. We get out and we're taking some pictures, and this man and now by the United States Immigration Services, it's like a UN meeting, right? I mean, there's just all kinds of different nations around there, like in the sidewalks, and all kinds of different kind of cool, different, diverse kind of people there. And we see this old guy who was as well getting his citizenship, and he sees Emma and I kind of doing our selfies, and selfie up, not down, because it makes you look skinnier. And I don't know if you know this or not. My wife loves it because I've got a really good selfie stick arm. It's like and he comes over and he says, "I'm very excited for you." And we're talking about it, and he says, "Can I get a picture with you?" And so my wife gets this picture with another man who went through the immigration services. I forget, he was from a Middle Eastern country, but they're both new members into this country, both excited about this new project that they're working on, this new entrance into this country, this new exploration of democracy that they're on. And it was so beautiful. And it was a reminder to me that, and might I add too, my wife is not typically one that people ask for pictures with or like hugs or anything. I will say this because she's not here. She doesn't necessarily have the welcoming disposition that would invite hugs, okay? That's just not her disposition. I've spent my life trying to earn her love. It's the greatest game in pursuit I've been on in my life. I chase it like a dog chasing a cat, and I'm after it, and it's hard to get, but sometimes you get glimpses of it. And so, but this guy wanted a hug, and he wanted a picture with her. And I thought it was so beautiful. I thought it was so great. And I kept that picture, and I actually have it favorite of all of her immigration pictures. It's my favorite one because it was a soul reaching out to a soul. It was a human reaching out to a human. It was a person reaching out to a person, a human reaching out to a human. It was two people going through a shared life experience saying, "I know what you're going through. I'm so excited for you." Then yesterday, we were at did anybody go to the Sunflower Fair? Yeah, we were. Sunflower Fair is also the library sale where you can buy books at 25 cents and stock up for your kids. So we go to the library sale, then go to the Sunflower Fair. And we went to the library sale, then walked around the Sunflower Fair. And on our way out, we were stopping by the farmer's market, and there's a couple great little booths at the farmer's market that we enjoy. There's one that's ran by, maybe you've been there, an older man. Now, my wife's been very stressed lately, and I think I've told you this. She's back in school. She's doing an accelerated nursing program, which means if you already have a bachelor's degree, you can join this program in like, 16, 17 months. You'll have your RN, your bachelor's in nursing. But it's like she's doing 2 semesters of nursing school, which is nursing school, 1 semester is hard, but 2 semesters in 1 semester, constantly studying, constantly crying because it's hard. It's miserable. She's very stressed. Plus, she has to live with me. Not always the easiest thing, right? And then I have 2 boys that are like me. So, and a dog who's like me too. So, not always easy. So, been a little stressful, and it's been hard. And she's doing well. But so we go through this farmer's market on our way. We're leaving the Sunflower Fair, and we stop by this farmer's market, a booth, and it's Pa's Veggie Patch. I don't know if you've been to this. It's a guy that runs it. He's from Hudson Lake area, and his name's Gene Boffman. Does anybody know Gene? So Gene Boffman is from Hudson Lake, fought in the Korean War. He's 87 years old, and he runs his own little veggie patch. And my wife goes there sometimes and buys from him because he's got great produce. He sells you a garbage bag full for like $4. But yesterday she stopped in and he recognized her. And this is Gene, by the way. And he said, "Can I have a hug?" And my wife, I could tell. Now again, Gene, I don't know if is just of the age where he doesn't care, or if he didn't read the body language, but my wife just starts smiling and gets very excited to give this guy a hug. And then she says, do you keep bees? Are you a beekeeper? And he says, "Oh, I've got bees for years." Then all of a sudden I realize that in this old man, she's connecting for her to her grandfather who just passed this last year, who was a beekeeper as well and a farmer. And so she hugs him and she gets emotional. And she gets excited because one soul reached out to another. I read up on him last night because I was very interested. An 87-year-old still running a own garden stand. His wife died. He's got great-grandchildren. His wife died, I think, in 2006 or something like that. And he's been doing this to keep himself busy. On a table at the farmer's market, you see, you can see right there, he's got his life story in there. He shares his pictures from North Korea, which is the war my grandfather fought in. He shares his life story, talks about his wife. The road that led him to that point is very, very different than the road that led my wife to her where she was. But 2 souls greeted 2 souls. One soul reached out to another. It was so human and it was so beautiful. We are better together. That's what we're talking about. Better together. Now, humans are naturally very tribal. It's not because you want to be, it's just how we are. It's biological. It's sociological. It is who we are. You do that, right? But we also like to be in tribes. We feel comfortable in tribes. And a tribe can be all kinds of different things. It can be your family as a tribe, but it also can be like a club that you're in. The Lions Club can be a tribe. It can be a work cohort that you're in. It could be your church. It could be a political party. You find commonality. You find similarities. It could be in college, a fraternity or a sorority. Humans are naturally tribal. We collect into groups, and we look for groups to collect into, because when we collect into groups, our subconscious helps us divide a very necessary thing for our mind that we call us versus them. Who is with us? Who is against us? And again, we don't even do it naturally. It's oftentimes a subconscious thing, and we do it because we want to know which group of people for us is safest and comfortable. Because if we are going to survive as a species, as a human, as a person, we need to be with people that we are safe and comfortable around. If we are not safe or comfortable, we feel like we are not flourishing. So think about this. You're your families. If you're in a family that's kind of got a toxic relationship with each other and you don't know what to do around it, you no longer feel safe or comfortable there, you want to separate yourself from it. Because your tribe, your group, your people are no longer giving you what you biologically and sociologically and emotionally, mentally crave: safety and comfort. When there's cognitive dissonance in a church, let's say somebody in your church disagrees with you, maybe your pastor does, and you don't know what to do with that, all of a sudden your tribe no longer feels safe or comfortable. And so what tends to happen is you find a more comfortable and safe tribe. Political parties. Okay, I don't know what to do, right? So you're going, I no longer agree with my political party. I don't necessarily agree with this other one. I don't know where to go. So we try. That makes us feel more safe and comfortable. This is our mind. This is how our subconscious works. This is how we prevented disaster. This is how we stayed away from people that were trying to hurt us. But what happens, though, when these us versus them distinctions kind of get born into this tribalism that is really harmful and hurtful? That instead of us and them, it becomes us versus them. And our mind decides us by who feels safest and most comfortable, and them by who we feel most dangerous, and maybe even just chaotic. Think about this. Where's tribalism at worst in our community, in our country? Right? Think about struggles that we're having maybe with racism or otherness, right? People of a different race or a different gender. Tribalism. And mind you, political parties thrive. Not addressing that. Not healing it. What about churches and faith expressions for how many years, right? Think about this. How many denominations exist now? Or just how many, like, independent churches? We're an independent church. We like to say, though, we're ecumenically inclusive. We take you as you are. We don't leave you there, but we take you where you're at. But how many churches and expressions of the faith are inherently tribal? You're good, you agree on these 17 things, but you get to the 18th one, and you've got a disagreement. We're going to go start a new church, or we're going to start a new movement. The Methodists switched from Methodist to Methodist and Wesleyan. Then you've also got the Nazarenes, and you've got the Free Methodists. You've got all these different things. As soon as you find the thing that you say no longer can be congruent, we will form a new tribe. See, once dichotomies, though, are determined, your us versus them, my us versus them, we then shift to trying to defining the differences of the tribes, right? And typically the tribe that you locate yourself in, or that I locate myself in, miraculously is the good tribe, right? My tribe is loyal, theirs is seditious. My tribe is complex, they're simple-minded. My tribe is orthodox, theirs is heretical. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Because in those simple dichotomies, we find two things: safety and comfort. Obviously, tribalism is huge right now in our country with politics and everything going on. And I noticed about a year ago that I had been kind of following a lot of the same people on Twitter and social media that agreed with me. that affirmed my biases. And so I kind of just got convicted of that and tried to be a little more aware of it, because I don't want to live in a world where the only people around me are the safe and comfortable type of people that agree with what I agree with, that affirm everything that I affirm, that are going to support everything that I believe, because I think it's good to be challenged. It's good to keep on growing. And so I unfollowed a bunch of people, and then I followed a bunch of people that disagree with me. Now, not like hateful people. There is a scale for me. I won't follow people like, I'm not like looking to be like, you know what, I need to give the KKK a real listen here. No. But people that are on the other side of my theological expression, on the other side of my political impulses, on the other side of my maybe cultural. I've told you how much my time in Inglewood in Chicago neighborhood impacted how I believe and how I understand the world, and how I understand even just how racial dichotomies go, because I learned from people not who are white talking about being black, but people who are black telling me about what it's like to be black. And I wanted to make sure that I don't continue to affirm my own tribe by following the same people. I wanted to challenge the things that I believed by allowing other opinions to come in. Bill Bishop wrote a book called The Big Sort, and it was written 2009 maybe, so a lifetime ago almost. But he writes about, the book's called The Big Sort, Why the Clustering of Like-Minded America is Tearing Us Apart, okay? So it's kind of about tribalism. And he talks about 3 different things about tribalism that kind of leads us to maybe really harmful or problematic places. And the first one he says is, when we're surrounded by people who agree with us, our views grow more unshakable and extreme. So if the only people you're around agree with your political or religious impulses, then you start to become more unshakable and extreme in those, and believe that those are the only ways that you can look at a situation. Because it's just so obvious and evident. But when you're then introduced to other ideas, this is actually what often happens to some of our younger kids or teenagers that graduate high school and go to college. They go as Christians and they come out as non-Christians, but or just not knowing what to do. But what happened is they were not introduced to differing opinions when they were in high school about faith, about how to construct a just and generous faith. They were not taught tools on how to build and how to embody a faith. They were given a package to inherit a faith. And when the shell of that package started kind of crumbling, then the whole thing went out. They were surrounded by people who only agree with them. They were not introduced to ideas that maybe conflicted with some of their own worldview. Bill Bishop also says, we tend to then delegitimize those who are different. We see this in punditry a lot, right? If I ever hear the word, well, clearly, when 2 people are both saying it clearly and disagreeing with each other, it's clearly not clear, right? Well, clearly it says this. Well, clearly it says this. Well, you guys are both disagreeing with each other and you're saying clear. Let's agree that it's not clear. There are things in the scriptures that are not clear. It's okay to say it, right? If it was clear, we would not have the Roman Catholics. We would not have the Eastern Orthodox. We would not have the United Methodists. We would not have the Evangelical Lutherans. We would not have all of these other Baptists and all these other groups of Christians that are disagreeing, not because they like to disagree, but sometimes where we want clarity, it's a little more murky. And we do our best to understand and we do our best to interpret, but we come to differing opinions. Not because it's clear, but because it's not clear. And we're trying to make best sense of it. And Bill Bishop finally says, we eliminate troubling cognitive dissonance without considering the possible validity of competing ideas. This happens sometimes in the church where you disagree with someone. I remember when I was in youth group many eons ago, and my dear beloved friend Mike McDermott this morning reminded me I'm going really gray. And I am. And he was very kind to say, I didn't go that gray until I was in my 50s. And I'm only 37. So, but I like to say, he didn't have you guys to deal with. All right? But I remember back when I was in youth group, and I was able to work as a staff member in my senior year of high school. I got to go to school at 6 in the morning, leave at 9 o'clock in the morning, and work 40 hours a week as a senior in high school, and I loved it. Now, I say go to school at 6 and leave at 9. I missed over 100. Often, because that would have been disastrous. Because what 17-year-old wants to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Not me. So anyway, I worked for the church my senior year, and I remember that one of our pastors was meeting with a person about an idea that they disagreed on. And there was this cognitive dissonance about this idea, which I would quite frankly see as a secondary idea, not all that important. But because they did not know how to deal with differences, because they were never taught how to cope with a world that disagrees, they left and found a place that was more safe and comfortable for them. Now, the idea that they were disagreeing on wasn't what you would maybe consider salvific. It wasn't anything major. It wasn't what I would consider something that they needed to split on. But it did give them this uncertainty about what they believed about that thing. And instead of maybe being patient, coming to an agreement, or saying, I agree, let's just agree to disagree, it's okay. You declare that Jesus is Lord, I declare that Jesus is Lord, that we don't need anything really more than that. They had to go to a different place that was more comfortable and safe. It's our biological, our cultural, our emotional, and our mental impulse to seek safety and comfort. This is the problem of tribalism. This is the problem that we fall into in the church. This is why, even in the early church, they had a hard time with including people from different backgrounds. Gentiles. They had a hard time with it because you're not from our tribe. You're not from our people. And then Gentiles had a harder time including Jewish people because you're not from our tribe. You look different, you talk different, you act different. You require different things out of faith than we do. But if we're going to embody a real faith that believes we're better together, we have to deal with our safety and comfort. Right? Christianity is a faith of challenge and controversy rather than convenience and comfort. It is. It challenges us. You might use, instead of challenge, you might use the word convict. It confronts us. It is controversial. Jesus, right? Jesus gets crucified not because he was safe, not because he was comfortable. Now, again, split this idea of comfortable from comfort. Jesus comforts all of us. But we don't really get comfortable. Jesus didn't invite people into a comfortable expression of faith. It was a controversial one that said, put the stones down. It said, look in the mirror. It says, if you don't forgive those who have done you wrong, who are you to ask God to forgive you. It was controversial. It was challenging. It was not convenient. It was not comfortable. So what do? Well, I think we have to understand that the scriptures invite us into this radical hospitality of people who are different. Not just Christians, not just people like us, not just white people, not just Laportians, not just people of a certain middle class economic class, not people that just vote Democrat or just vote Republican. We have to consistently and constantly fight against our comfort and our safety to follow a faith of controversy, to follow a leader and a God that confronts and convicts, to find a kingdom that transcends tribal barriers. Look at Leviticus in the Old Testament. When an alien, and we don't usually use the word alien. We do illegal alien maybe, but the word alien has really become known more as like somebody from outer space. Did anybody want go and storm Area 51 this week? No? Or an immigrant. When somebody not from your place, somebody from the outside, so somebody that would confront your safety, that would confront your comfort, resides with you in your land, in your neighborhood, in your place, you shall not oppress this person. One that's a citizen shall love them as yourself. For you were once aliens in the land of Egypt. You were once on the run as well. You were once wandering in the desert. Do not forget where you've been. Help other people understand. Help other people experience the comfort that maybe you didn't have when you were wandering. I am the Lord your God. This is a proclamation to confront our safety and our comfort by embracing and inviting those who are different in. Ephesians, the book of Ephesians, written by the Apostle Paul, dealing with this idea of difference. Gentiles and Jewish followers. Again, one is not, they ought to believe that it's an us and them, but because of their binary tribalism, even though they both declare Jesus is Lord, they've decided that in order to really declare Jesus is Lord, because it's always a purity and litmus test, you must agree with what I agree with. So the Apostle Paul, like we talked about last week in Romans, even in Ephesians, is combating this idea. Sometimes the Apostle Paul confronts Jewish Christians. Sometimes he confronts Gentile Christians. But the idea is still the same. You need to take down the walls between us, burst them, and learn to embrace a worldview that is us and them. So he says, so then, remember that at one time you too, or you Gentiles by birth, called the uncircumcision by people around you. Because Gentiles are not circumcised. Circumcised was how they, the circumcision was how they decided and how they declared their loyalty to God's people. They were circumcised. There was rules about circumcision. They were not circumcised, so then they were not a part of God's people. And he reminds the Gentiles, hey, listen, remember they threw that derogatory phrase out at you? You're not part of the circumcised. You're the uncircumcision. A physical circumcision made in the flesh by human hands it was, though. Remember that you were at that time without Christ. And then he borrows this language from Leviticus. Being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers to the covenants of promise. You were on the outside. You Gentiles, don't forget this. Now you have influence in Ephesus. It's a primarily Gentile church. You have a lot of influence. You're having a hard time bringing in Jewish Christians. But remember, you were an outsider at one point, having no hope, without God. You are in a different, uncomfortable. have been brought near by the blood of Jesus Christ. For he is our peace. He is our shalom. He makes the world right again. In his flesh, he has made both groups into one. He has brought them together and has broken down the dividing wall. That is, the hostility between us. Hostility versus hospitality. Jesus breaks down the hostile dividing walls that you have between you and another person, you and another group. He has abolished the law with its commandments and ordinances that he might create in himself one new humanity in place of the two, thus making shalom, peace, bringing it together, and might reconcile both groups to God in one body through the cross, thus putting to death that hostility through it. See, what I love about the New Testament is it's not really all this kind of outlandish, like 70s or 60s, like peace hymny kind of thing, right? It actually doesn't erase our tribalism. It doesn't say you're no longer like Jew by birth, a Jewish member by birth. You're no longer a Gentile member by birth. But your relationship with Christ transforms these boundaries. You no longer come from or what their heritage is, because the ways of Jesus have brought tribalism, but it transforms it. It invites you into a different way to look at it.